Medical research shows that mind-body modalities such as yoga, meditation, and art therapy help to restore both mental and physical wellness. And the Learning Center at Red Willow focuses on these connections in their classes and healing practices, and most formidably, through their Mind, Body, Spirit Conference, which is coming up this June for its third year. In 2014, the conference focused on horses, interspecies communication, and health, which occurred serendipitously during the lunar year of the horse. Then in 2015, for the second annual conference, the theme was Transformation, the Power Within, building a resilient community through neuroplasticity, which featured presentations on the nature of trauma and resilience from a clinical, neuroscience-based perspective. Now they're in their third year, and the Learning Center at Red Willow is excited to welcome Dr. Amit Goswami to Missoula, Montana, to lead the conference on The Trouble with Money, a quantum physics primer on making it, spending it, and living with it ethically and spiritually. And to prep Missoula for the conference, I sat down for a phone interview with Dr. Goswami to find out more about his work in the field of quantum physics. But here's the thing. If you're at all like me, the moment that you hear a phrase like quantum physics, you start to get a little bit of tunnel vision. But Dr. Goswami isn't a normal quantum physicist. I mean, yes, he has all the credentials of a physicist and more. Theoretical quantum physicist Dr. Amit Goswami is a retired full professor from the University of Oregon's Department of Physics, where he served from 1968 to 1997. But his dedication to quantum physics isn't just scientifically based, it's also spiritually based. He is a pioneer of the new paradigm of science called Science Within Consciousness, and he's written many books on the topic: The Visionary Window, Physics of the Soul, Creative Evolution, and several others. But it's the message of his most recent book, Quantum Economics, Unleashing the Power of an Economics of Consciousness, that he'll be bringing to the Mind, Body, Spirit Conference this summer. In his book on quantum economics, Dr. Goswami focuses on critical issues for a new paradigm in economics and business for the 21st century, touching upon the stability and sustainability of the economy and leadership, as well as creativity and ethics in business. Now, if you're still listening and not quite certain if this is the right topic for you, I implore you to stick it out, because Dr. Amit Goswami is life-changingly brilliant, and his ruminations on quantum physics are a lot better said than my own.
Hi.
Hi, is this Dr. Goswami?
Yes.
Well, hello. My name is Maureen Hoff, and I am the production director at Missoula Broadcasting. We're a radio company up in Montana, where you're coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful to talk to you, and we just had a couple of questions to ask you, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, well, first, how's your day going?
So far, so good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And can you hear me? I'm talking to you through a weird system, so...
I hear you very well.
Wonderful. Awesome. Okay, so our goal is to make some radio spots out of this, as we're just trying to let people know about your upcoming talk. So the questions may seem simplistic, but you should feel free to expand on them however you see fit. So my first question is kind of broad, but you have said that you identify as a quantum activist. So what is quantum activism?
Well, quantum activism is an activistic movement, of course. The activism part consists of two basic elements. In spite of the fact that quantum physics is now something like 9 decades old, it was discovered in the years 1925-26. In spite of that fact, it is the truth that due to many obstructions put up sometimes by well-minded scientists themselves, the public just do not have any idea of what quantum physics represents, what it means, what the worldview is according to quantum physics. And so part of the quantum activism movement is to make the results of the quantum worldview known to the world. Because if we knew, we feel that the world would completely change, because the quantum worldview says clearly that we are all interconnected through a what we call non-local kind of field is one name that is given. It's not completely descriptive, but let's just use that word, quantum field. And this is based on experimental data and quantum theory. So there's just no doubt about it, that there is such an interconnection that we have that connects us, non-locality, without signals, instantly. So what is this connection? Then quantum measurement theory, that is something that we have to add, because how quantum physics says that everything is possibility, then how the possibility become actuality is called quantum measurement theory. And if you ask that question and answer it properly without paradoxes, you get this wonderful idea that this quantum field is nothing but our consciousness itself at the base level. In other words, at the ground, we have a non-local connection that is nothing but our consciousness through which we cognize. That our cognitive facility itself comes from that interconnection that quantum physics predicts as a quantum field, and that has been verified experimentally. So we want to propagate this idea to people because imagine the impact of that, because we live like independent and separate, and we, as time goes, we become more and more polarized. Today in America, polarization is so obvious. All you have to do is to watch a Republican debate. This has to change because people have to recognize that they really are not separate. They're connected at a deeper level. We just have camouflage of that connection, so we don't recognize it. So this is the first part of quantum activism. The second part, quantum physics very strongly says that we have a creative approach which can remove these obstructions we have towards discovering this quantum non-local connection. And this approach is the process of creativity. So the second part of quantum activists is their life is to use creativity and the quantum principles that govern quantum creativity to activate this non-local consciousness in their lives. What does that mean explicitly? What it means is that when we activate this quantum non-local interconnection in our lives, then our lives become more loving, more just, more appreciator of beauty, more goodness, more of all these noble qualities that we all covet. Quantum activist tries to do that, embody them so that they can illustrate this embodiment is possible to other people, so that everybody can be enthused, first of all, knowing the truth of the quantum metaphysics and knowing the truth that there is a process by which they can activate that metaphysics in their own lives. Did that do it for you?
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So how did you get into this line of work? What prompted you to explore economics and quantum physics?
Now, this is a question which will again elicit a long answer because it happened in several stages. In the first stage, I had these ideas that I just shared. Consciousness is the ground of being. It's our non-local interconnectivity and all this. And when I published my book suggesting all these ideas, overnight I became a little popular, and so I was getting a lot of invitations. One of the invitations was to join a group of about 30 scientists and philosophers and thinkers to meet the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, India. And the significant thing that happened in that meeting was that the Dalai Lama challenged us, new paradigm thinkers. He said, what good is a paradigm if you don't apply it to social problems? We have so many problems in the world. Solve them. Apply it to social problems. Don't be isolated ivory tower scientists. So that made a mark on me. So I came back, and the first problem I applied was the health and healing problem, which is a social problem. So I was kind of happy. And then I got another call from the president of the World Business Academy, named Rinaldo Brutocco. And he said that, well, we are bestowing a fellowship of the Academy to you, and the expectation is that you will apply your worldview to economics, businesses. And I said, I know nothing about economics, but that didn't stop him. He said, no, we want your input of your ideas into this problem. Well, another social problem. So I got thinking, and indeed, as soon as I took another look, I had glimpsed at it before, but I never really read Wealth of Nations that Adam Smith wrote in the 18th century. I read it this time, and it immediately triggered in me a response that, yes, this is incomplete because he applies economics, capitalism only to material experience that we have. But of course, in the new physics, in the new paradigm, we have a science of all experiences. All of our experiences are on the same footing. Namely, they all begin as possibilities for consciousness to choose from. So when we realize that our four kinds of experiences, material sensing, vital feeling, mental thinking of meaning, and even the archetypal values that gives us spiritual experiences or creative experiences, all these are intuitive experiences. All these come from consciousness choosing from possibilities. And therefore, they all should play a role in all of our social aspects, including our economy. Why should we restrict our consumption, and do we actually restrict our consumption to only material goods? Everybody knows that, they need to get some meaning in their life, otherwise life becomes drab. Everybody knows that bulk of our time, we are actually emoting. We cannot ignore the fact that we sometimes speak very energetically, very passionately. Other times we don't. Other times it's soham, pure thinking. So if we make these distinctions, then we see that, why can't we actually buy and sell vital energy? Why can't we buy and sell meaning? And then you realize, we are already doing that. When we buy a book, we buy it for the meaning it entails. When we read a story, we are actually picking up meaning. We are buying the meaning. So there already is a subtle energy economy in the form of books, television, literature, music. They're all subtle mental aspects of a different type of economy than the material economy. And so you generalize that idea, and you think of vital energy economy, and you think even of economy of love, where the old adages like money cannot buy love is replaced by new adages, which is that, yes, if we can produce people who can give you love, then money can buy love. If somebody like Mother Teresa can be enticed to sit in a corporate office, then why can't people just visit her and get some love, and then their productivity will go up, right?
Right.
So that is the kind of thing that quantum economics proposes, and it can be done successfully because we now have the method, quantum creativity, by which to produce human capital like Mother Teresa en masse. We can do it if we put our mind to it. Of course, it will take a lot of investment, a lot of innovation, a lot of work, but it can be done. Just like development of motor cars and cell phones took a lot of innovation and a lot of work, but it could be done.
Then I guess my next question is as a consumer, how could any consumer apply this idea of quantum economics to their life? And is it possible yet without the advances being made?
So this is of course $1 million question. So what does the vital energy products do to us? So notice that we have, even in the 60s, Abraham Maslow, the psychologist, thought of this, that when we have satisfied our material needs, what do we want? Today, a very large number of Americans, because their material needs are pretty much satisfied, are asking the question of what is the meaning of life. And people who are not getting meaning, they are angry. Those are the supporters of Donald Trump. And people who are getting meaning but want to keep getting more meaning, they are the supporters of Bernie Sanders. And the establishment people, they don't worry about meaning. They just want the same thing, same old. This is why new people, the attraction of new people is always that they seem to give us either out of the doldrum of old meaning, the entry point, or they will continue into something that I'm already doing, and we intuitively know that this is good because this will open us to more meaning. So in other words, we are ready to satisfy our higher needs. What I'm saying is not only meaning, but we also want more vitality. That's what vital energy is about, vitality. We want to be passionate about things. We want to be vital in a good way. You can say if you read a poem without love, that's one thing. But if you read a poem with love, passion, then the meaning changes. Then our outlook of what I'm getting changes. So in this way, we want to satisfy our higher needs as much as we wanted the lower needs, the survival needs to be satisfied first. But once they are satisfied, we are ready for higher needs. And this is what this new economics provides. So people will be interested in quantum economics. Why? Because their well-being demands that these higher needs are produced. Right now, the production is absolutely very, very little in terms of the higher needs. You have to sort of find your own way to find meaning, find love, find vitality in your life. If, on the other hand, we produce these things in a commercial way, just imagine. I could just, earn money doing something material, that's the survival part, and then use that to buy love, buy meaning, buy vitality, and that would change my life. If my life is, I redefine as well-being is the goal, not how much money I have collected. Because after the survival needs are met, my bank account means very little to me. It's just little satisfaction that I have all these things available. But what do I do with it? I mean, it is a fact, right? If you buy 500 shoes instead of one pair of shoes, what do you really have? Nothing, right? But if, on the other hand, you realize, well, I have one pair, maybe I have two pairs, and that's enough. And then the rest of the money I spend with my meaning needs, with my needs which will make me feel well. Well-being by being well. That being well, if that becomes the focus, instead of being a person with a lot of money in the bank account, which is just sitting there making more money, but it's not adding to my being well, that's the quantum consumer. Quantum consumer looks for higher needs, satisfaction of higher needs, not higher bank account.
So I'm brand new to quantum economics and quantum physics. I guess I have kind of a theoretical question that I could be very wrong about this, but I'm wondering, would you say that things like recording artists, songwriters, or novelists, or people who are just kind of doing things for people's enjoyment, would you say that that is a type of quantum economics or quantum?
Mm-hmm. When anything that is in enhancing the meaning of people's life is good. But of course, you have to recognize there's a lot of stuff today in the music world, especially, that make people very negative. Mm-hmm. And that is, of course, anti-meaning. That's a revolt because establishment meaning is not satisfying anymore. So that's the same kind of revolt that I was talking about via the idea of Donald Trump gets a lot of support from these angry people who are not identifying why they are angry. They are angry because there is no meaning in their life, but they are thinking they're angry because some people are forcing them not to get well-being in their life. They don't realize that sense of well-being does not come because they're looking at the wrong place. And so the music world also is full of this, taking advantage of this dissatisfaction that people have because they're not getting well-being in their life. So the real source of dissatisfaction is we have to bring satisfaction of these higher needs, not really condemn other people whom we feel they're keeping us from well-being. And so, if you take away that negative part, then music has a lot of positive part. And that positive part is what really the quantum worldview would promote much more than the negative part. Negative part has some use, but it's very limited because it makes people ultimately anti-quantum. By becoming more and more negative towards life, we perpetuate the status quo. We don't really gain anything. Whereas by being positive and inclusive, we gain something because we really get out of that old materialist way of life, namely just satisfy your basic instinctual needs and not open yourself to higher needs like vitality, love, and meaning. So this part is important. So music does it, but only positive music. The angry music doesn't quite do it. A little bit maybe, but not quite. Okay?
So then I wonder, though, even with the positive music or anything positive books, positive movies, things that people really get love and enjoyment out of, would you say that the massive amounts of money that come with that, does that negate their ability to communicate that positivity?
Well, the massive amount of money is a habit that we have built because, again, partially because of the worldview that we suffer from. The materialist worldview has built this idea of more money you have, your life is more to be coveted, more successful you are. Money and fame are also likewise connected. All those things change when you subscribe to the right way of thinking. So, we have developed a very elitist society where name, fame, money are all interconnected. And so people automatically think that without money, fame is about money, basically. That's the way of thinking goes. But actually, it doesn't have to be that way. So when we adopt the right worldview, we'll find that really we don't need to spend so much money producing these entertainment stuff. And entertainment and education don't have to be oppositional. Today, as soon as somebody says it's an educational movie, we think it's going to be boring. It's not like that at all. Very entertaining stuff can be educational and vice versa. Education can be very entertaining. It all depends on what we are using it for and what we call entertainment. Today, entertainment basically means things that excites our basic instinctual tendencies, like tendencies of sexuality mainly, and of course, a lot of extent tendencies of violence. It gives an outlet. People want to be violent, but of course, society doesn't allow them to be violent. So by watching a violent movie, I vicariously enjoy the violence that the actors and actresses are subjecting each other to. Otherwise, what is the idea of looking at people kill people? Why do we get entertained by that? We entertain by that because we have instincts of killing people. And those instincts are vicariously experienced by seeing that Rambo-like ability. Oh, I'm so angry, and I wish I could kill people like that. And that is what gives us entertainment, right? Sexuality, the same way. We wish that we could do all those things that the actors and actresses are doing on the screen, but of course we can't, and therefore we just watch vicariously, putting ourselves in the shoes of the actors and actresses. So this is one definition. This is the base level definition. This is the definition that we use when we want to perpetuate the present situation. But suppose you want to elevate the society, then of course we are not going to do that. We are not going to feed the base instincts. Then we are going to open it up. We are going to open it up how? We are going to open it up in a very subtle ways to entertain. It's a Wonderful Life is a movie that is also entertaining, no doubt, but it gives you noble feelings. To Kill a Mockingbird, a sad movie, but it's wonderfully entertaining, and yet when you come out of the theater, you'll be filled with just wonderful feeling in spite of the fact that it's a sad story which ends up prosecuting someone. But still, it is wonderful to feel that elevation that comes from the character of Atticus and his relationship with the world. So, that's what I mean, that entertainment and education does not have to be two separate words. All depends on how we define what we are about. And this is what quantum worldview does. It gives us the right definition, proper definition under quantum physics, under the lessons of this new physics. If you understand quantum physics, we'd want to live this way. And this is what a quantum activist does. Quantum activist makes quantum physics and its lessons more accessible to society.
So another question that I have is, what happens if we ignore these laws of quantum physics?
Well, then we just become slowpoke. We still go. Invariably, the world eventually will change, but we are not active in it. We are not actively changing it, and then it will take horrendous amount of time. Notice what happened in the Copernicus discovered that Earth goes around the sun, but the idea didn't come around in the society until Newton, and more than 100 years passed in between, right? So that's what will happen if, quantum physics, as I said, is already 90 years old, but its message is being now fully understood, and we are doing our best to change the world, and we are changing it, actually. It turns out that the society is waking up. The facts are that, you won't hear this pronouncement in mainstream, but the truth is that thanks to the internet, thanks to the wonderful New Age radio and the wonderful New Age journalists, our message is getting through. That is the actual truth. Tremendously large number of people are changing worldview every day. So, no, we don't have to wait for much more than 100 years for this worldview change. It's just a matter of a few decades now.
Well, so I already asked you from the perspective of a consumer, but from the other side of the transaction, how can a business leader or community leader learn from the teachings and ideals of quantum economics?
Well, for business leaders, all they have to recognize is that today the economics is not working. The businesses are really lacking innovative ideas, and they have to ask the question, why is this dearth of innovation? What is going on? What is responsible for it? If they really ask this question incisively, they will find the answer. Answer, of course, is the faulty worldview, faulty ways of thinking that limits people's creativity. This current worldview is anti-creativity, anti-innovation. People just don't recognize it. There is no mechanism for creativity in this worldview. It's a deterministic worldview. There is no such thing as creativity in truth, according to this worldview. And if we believe such things, then we become that. Everybody knows our beliefs have a very big effect on you. If you believe you are weak, you are weak. If you believe that you are ugly, you are ugly. And people behave that way. So if we believe that we are deterministic, we have no creativity, we become deterministic and we have no creativity. That's what is happening. So the first thing we do as quantum activists is to train businesses to value creativity, and we teach them how to be creative, how to come out of the old business patterns, pick up the new economic lessons that we should not concentrate on money rather than well-being. We should not feed so much the ideas of the old economics, but instead new ideas like sustainability, how to reduce and how to be happy at the same time. Happiness does not depend on so much of material goods, but also can depend on goods that satisfies our higher needs, to how to veer our businesses and economics more towards the satisfaction of higher needs rather than the lower needs, which now we are doing in a way that exhausts the world's supply of goods, but doesn't really give us any well-being from it. 500 pairs of shoes does not contribute to the well-being as much as the first 2 pairs of shoes did. And this is we are not recognizing. And we have to recognize that because the world is running out of resources. And if we do too much deployment of resources of the material kind, we get pollution like global warming. So as these things dawn on us, we clearly will have to find what does a businessman or businesswoman does to take their businesses towards what? And this is where we come in and we teach them about subtle energies, we teach them about vitality, about meaning, about values, how to deploy them in their lives and how to produce products that will bring love, bring meaning, bring vitality to people, to their consumers.
Okay, so before I let you go, I have one last question for you, and it veers a little bit away from the thread that we've been chasing throughout this, but I know that Red Willow really wants listeners to dip their toes into these ideas that you're positing. So can you explain in layman's terms what you mean by the primacy of consciousness?
Okay, now this is the quintessential question, of course. What is consciousness being ground up, being mean? Well, the confusion comes from the fact that, if I said that everything is made of consciousness, but you think about it and you say, well, consciousness, but that's such a nebulous concept. How can matter, which is solid, can be made out of something that is so nebulous? It's our consciousness, cognitive ability. That's a little puzzling. So you have to understand the first lesson of quantum physics. There is no such thing as a solid object. They all are possibilities. Possibility is also a nebulous concept. That's the world. World is made up of consciousness, possibility, this kind of thing. When consciousness chooses from these possibilities, then experiences come. Experiences of variety of kinds. Some of them experiences are gross experiences like solidity, rigidity, all those qualities that are associated with matter. They are gross experiences. and some of them come as still quite nebulous, subtle experiences like thinking, meaning, vitality, values like love. All these are subtle experiences, still nebulous, but they're valuable. Are they existing? All you have to do is to open your mind. Yes, they are, because love satisfies me much more than a whole steak, right? If you really think about it, can a steak compared to, suppose somebody loving is calling you versus somebody is offering you a very juicy steak, what would you take, really, honestly? So, it becomes very clear that these things are quite substantial. It just is a different substance. Material substance is gross, we can see it, we can, verify it by touching it, by tasting it, by smelling it, by seeing it, by hearing it. The subtle is a little more difficult. We have to sort of intuit its value. We have to feel its value. We have to think its value. A little bit more subtle stuff that we have to do. But once we learn to do it, it's much more wonderful, much more conducive to our well-being than the material stuff. After, of course, our survival needs are satisfied. If you have empty stomach, then you might very well go for the steak instead of going for love. But if you have a full stomach, watch it while you go. You will always choose love rather than this another steak, right?
Right. Wow. This has been absolutely amazing. I'll let you go, and I cannot thank you enough for doing this with us. This was amazing.
Okay. Thanks for calling. Wonderful question.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing your talk.
Okay. Bye.
For more information on Dr. Amit Goswami and his upcoming 2-day workshop this summer through the Mind, Body, Spirit Conference, visit mindbodyspiritmontana.org. To learn more about the Red Willow Learning Center and the classes and services they offer, visit redwillowlearning.org. This interview was produced through the Missoula Broadcasting Company with music by Kevin McLeod. Thanks for listening.